목이 마르다는 남편에게 건넨 시원한 음료 한 잔. 그 안에는 사람이 마셔서는 안 될 치사량의 독극물이 들어있었습니다. 한 번은 우연일 수 있습니다. 하지만 두 번째 남편마저 똑같은 방식으로 똑같은 고통 속에 죽어갔다면 이야기는 달라집니다. 완벽한 범죄를 꿈꿨던 그녀는 수사망이 좁혀오자 망설임 없이 다음 타깃을 골랐습니다. 세상에서 가장 믿고 의지해야 할 존재, 바로 자신의 친딸이었습니다.
I need an ambulance at Brooklyn Road. She's having trouble, I think. It sounds like there's something in her throat.
이 끔찍한 범행을 저지른 범인은 미국 전역을 경악게 한 희대의 악녀, 블랙 위도우라 불리는 스테이시 캐스터입니다. 마시는 음료에 몰래 약을 타서 사람의 목숨을 뺏는 이 끔찍한 수법. 그런데 어딘가 낯설지가 않습니다. 대한민국에서도 이와 소름돋게 닮은 사건이 있었습니다. 채팅 앱으로 만난 남성들을 모텔로 유인해 수면제를 탄 음료를 먹여 금품을 뺏고 결국 사망에 이르게 한 20대 여성의 연쇄살인 사건. 그녀 역시 돈과 욕망을 위해 마시는 것을 살인 도구로 이용했습니다.
최근 한 달 새 2명의 남성이 잇따라 숨진 채 발견됐는데
호텔에서 함께 투숙한 남성 2명에게 약물을 탄 음료를 건네 숨지게 한 혐의를 받는 20대 여성이 구속됐습니다.
온 국민의 관심은 그녀가 어떤 처벌을 받을지 주목하고 있습니다. 이와 유사한 수법으로 살인을 저지른 블랙 위도우 사건. 도대체 어떤 일들이 일어났으며 미국에서는 이 살인마에게 어떤 처벌을 내렸을까? 지금부터 저와 함께 그날의 사건을 낱낱이 파헤쳐 보겠습니다. 처벌 실화냐? (2005년 8월) 다급한 목소리로 911 신고 전화가 걸려왔습니다.
911, what's your emergency?
My name is Stacey Castor. My husband didn't show up to work this morning. I don't know what's going on. I'm just getting a little concerned because I haven't talked to him since 5 o'clock in the morning on Sunday when he locked me out of the bedroom.
Has he ever mentioned hurting himself or harming himself or?
Friday night when we were arguing, he told me to get out because my kids didn't get out. I could leave. And then 5 minutes later, he said if I left, he would make me sorry. I would be sorry if I ever left him.
남편 데이비드가 주말 내내 침실 문을 잠그고 나오지 않는다는 신고였습니다. 신고를 받고 출동한 경찰은 굳게 닫힌 문을 부수고 방 안으로 들어갔습니다. 그리고 믿기 힘든 광경을 마주하게 되죠. 침대 위에는 벌거벗은 데이비드가 엎드린 채 숨져 있었습니다. 그런데 현장은 어딘가 기묘했습니다. 침대 밑에는 뚜껑이 분리된 부동액통이 널브러져 있었고 협탁 위에는 초록색 액체가 담긴 유리잔과 살구 브랜디, 크랜베리 주스가 놓여 있었죠. 심지어 부엌 쓰레기통에서는 알코올과 부동액 냄새가 진동하는 칠면조 요리용 스포이드까지 발견됩니다. 스테이시는 남편이 우울증 때문에 스스로 부동액을 마시고 목숨을 끊은 것이라고 주장했습니다.
Stacy had told me that David had been depressed because he had recently lost his father and that possibly his drinking and suicide that weekend was as a result of him being depressed about his father.
그런데 현장을 살피던 수사관은 도무지 이해할 수 없는 의문점이 생겼습니다. 발가벗은 채로 목숨을 끊는 사람이 과연 있을까?
Very rarely does anybody commit suicide naked.
침대 밑에 샷건을 두고 왜 굳이 속이 타들어가는 끔찍한 고통을 겪으며 부동액을 마셨을까?
Dying by ingesting antifreeze is a long and painful process.
게다가 남성이 스스로 목숨을 끊는데 살구 브랜디와 크랜베리 주스를 마셨다는 것도 당시 상황에서는 선뜻 납득하기 어려웠습니다.
Poisoning is a feminine way of committing suicide, and men like to blow their brains out. Boom, it's over.
여기서 이상한 점이 또 보였습니다. 사랑하는 사람이 갑자기 하루아침에 목숨을 잃었습니다. 혹시라도 타살일 가능성이 충분히 있었을 텐데 왜 스테이시는 확고하게 남편이 자살했다고 단정하고 서둘러 수사를 마무리하려고 했던 걸까? 그리고 유산 상속 부분 역시 매우 이상했습니다. 누구보다 아들 데이비드 주니어를 아꼈던 아버지였습니다. 그런데 유언장에는 친아들에게 유산이 한 푼도 상속되지 않게 되어 있었죠. 그 모든 유산은 오직 아내 스테이시의 몫으로 되어 있었습니다.
I don't even believe my name was mentioned in it. My first feelings on that were my father really did not like me. I thought he was just pissed at me, like wanted nothing to do with me and never wanted anything to do with me again.
이상한 점은 이뿐만이 아니었습니다. 5년 전 38의 첫 번째 남편 마이클 역시 심장마비로 돌연사했다는 사실이 확인된 겁니다. 당시 스테이시는 남편이 갑자기 죽었음에도 시신을 훼손하기 싫다며 완강하게 부검을 거부했습니다. 마치 남편이 조용히 땅에 묻히기만을 바랐던 사람처럼 행동했죠. 이 기막힌 과거를 쫓던 수사관이 데이비드가 묻힌 시러큐스 외곽의 조용한 묘지를 찾아갔을 때 그곳에서 아주 충격적인 진실을 마주하게 됩니다. 데이비드의 무덤 바로 옆 아주 낯익은 이름의 묘비가 나란히 세워져 있었던 겁니다. 바로 첫 번째 남편 마이클이었습니다. 자신의 두 남편을 나란히 묻어둔 이 기괴한 광경 앞에서 수사관은 머릿속으로 가설을 하나 세우죠. 만약 5년 전 죽은 첫 번째 남편의 진짜 사인 역시 부동액이라면 이 가설을 증명하기 위해서는 5년 전의 무덤을 다시 열어봐야 했습니다. 수사관은 검찰을 찾아가 끈질기게 설득합니다. 두 사건의 수법이 완전히 동일할 것이라는 확신으로 법원으로부터 이례적인 시신 발굴 영장을 받아내는데 성공하죠. 5년 만에 첫 번째 남편의 무덤이 파헤쳐졌고 부검 결과지를 받아든 수사관은 온몸에 소름이 돋았습니다. 부동액을 마시면 체내에서 칼슘 옥살레이트라는 결정체가 만들어집니다. 그런데 이 결정들이 마이클의 신장과 간, 심장 등 모든 장기에 박혀 있었던 겁니다. 즉, 이 사건은 단순 죽음이 아닌 연쇄살인 사건이라는 의미였습니다. 수사관들은 연쇄살인의 강력한 물증을 손에 쥐었지만 이 퍼즐을 맞추기 위해서는 용의자의 진술이 필요했습니다. 취조실에서의 신문은 무려 3시간 반 동안이나 이어졌습니다. 그 긴 시간 동안 스테이시는 남편 데이비드의 죽음이 완벽한 자살임을 경찰에게 설득하려 안간힘을 썼습니다. 스테이시의 뻔뻔한 거짓말을 묵묵히 듣고 있던 스피넬리 형사. 마침내 남편의 침실 협탁을 찍은 사진 한 장을 테이블 위에 올려놓으며 조용히 미끼를 던져봅니다. 그리고 사진 쪽으로 몸을 숙이더니 유심히 살펴보는 그녀. 하지만 오랜 시간 이어진 취조에 너무 긴장했던 탓일까? 자신도 모르게 이 사건 전체를 뒤흔들 치명적인 말실수가 터져나왔습니다.
I said, Stacy, there were 2 glasses sitting on the nightstand. You say that you poured him some cranberry juice at one point, right? She said, yes. And I said, I'm going to show you a picture of those 2 glasses. I asked Stacy, do you remember which glass it was that you poured the cranberry juice in? And she looked at it and said, well, when I poured the antifreeze, and then she stopped and said, I mean the cranberry juice.
부동액을 부었다고 자백할 뻔하다가 황급히 크랜베리 주스로 말을 돌린 겁니다. 형사는 이 찰나의 순간을 놓치지 않았습니다.
And I looked at her and said, but you said antifreeze. And she said, you know, I don't like this. You're trying to frame me. You're trying to pin this on me. And I'm done. And she stopped the interview.
And she just said, that's it. I'm done. I want an attorney.
스테이시는 일방적으로 조사를 중단시킵니다. 하지만 수사관이 테이블 위에 흩어진 사진들을 다시 폴더에 넣으려는 찰나에 사진 한 장에 시선이 꽂힙니다. 바로 부엌 쓰레기통에서 발견되었던 칠면조 요리용 스포이드 사진이었습니다. 남편의 입에 강제로 부동액을 밀어넣을 때 사용했던 바로 그 끔찍한 범행 도구였죠.
Stacy peered at the folder and said, what is that? And I said, what? And she said, that picture. What is that picture of a turkey baster? Why is that there? And I said, don't worry about it. The interview's over.
취조실을 빠져나온 스테이시는 자신을 향한 수사망을 직감했을 겁니다. 그것을 확인하고 싶었던 것일까? 그녀는 첫 번째 남편의 묘지로 차를 몰았습니다. 그리고 흉측하게 파헤쳐진 무덤을 두 눈으로 마주하게 되죠.
I recall Stacy saying something along the lines of, they did it. They actually did it. They exhumed them. They did it. Why'd they do that?
바로 그 시각, 경찰은 대학교에 있던 친딸 애슐리를 찾아가 친아버지가 독살당했다는 충격적인 진실을 알렸습니다. 이 소식을 듣고 혼란에 빠진 애슐리는 곧바로 엄마 스테이시에게 전화를 걸었죠.
Hello?
Mommy, they came to my freaking school.
They came to your school? Are you okay?
I'm gonna be okay, but I'm really freaking out right now. And how do they know I was even gonna be here?
Oh my God. That bastard came to your school.
우리는 이 대목에서 그녀의 악랄함에 다시 한번 경악하게 됩니다. 자신을 향한 의심의 눈초리를 돌리기 위해 딸을 범인으로 만드는 악마의 계획을 세웠습니다.
And then Stacy Castor, the mom, has this suggestion. You know what? This is all too heavy. Why don't we drink? Why don't we have a drink?
Stacy mixes this, probably 12-ounce plastic cup Ashley, caught up in the moment. This is so cool. This is neat. I want to make my mom happy. She drinks it.
자신을 죽이려 한다는 사실을 꿈에도 몰랐던 애슐리. 엄마가 건넨 술을 마시며 이상 증세를 보이기 시작했습니다. 그리고 스테이시는 계속해서 술과 수면제를 억지로 밀어넣었죠. 그렇게 무려 17시간 동안 의식을 잃고 죽어가고 있었습니다. 딸이 거의 숨을 거뒀다고 판단한 스테이시는 그제야 911에 신고했습니다.
911, what's your emergency?
I need an ambulance at Marshall Road. She's having trouble, I think. It sounds like there's something in her throat. Ashley. Oh my God, oh my God. What's happening?
그리고 현장에 출동한 경찰에게 딸의 컴퓨터에서 발견했다며 장문의 유서를 넘겼습니다. 하지만 이 완벽해 보이던 그녀의 계획은 단어 하나 때문에 산산조각이 났습니다. 유서 안에는 부동액을 뜻하는 단어가 무려 4번이나 오타로 적혀 있었기 때문이죠. 안티프리. 그것은 과거 취조실에서 그녀가 무의식 중에 잘못 발음했던 단어와 정확히 일치했습니다. 수사관은 마침내 확신했습니다. 진짜 살인마가 누구인지를 말이죠. 결국 그녀를 두 번째 남편에 대한 2급 살인, 친딸에 대한 2급 살인 미수, 그리고 유언장 위조 혐의로 전격 체포했습니다. (2009년 1월 13일) 드디어 스테이시 캐스터의 추악한 민낯을 밝힐 재판이 시작되었습니다. 양측의 전략은 극명하게 갈렸습니다. 검찰의 목표는 단 하나, 스테이시가 한 모든 진술의 모순을 집요하게 파고들어 스스로 무너지게 만드는 것이었습니다. 검사는 곧바로 스테이시를 증인석에 세우고 숨막히는 압박을 시작합니다.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about a list of reasons why Ashley killed. We'll start with Michael Wallace, her own father. If you had to put these on a list for the jury, let's start with reason number 1.
I can't give you a reason why she would do it.
So if I give you 10 reasons, we're going to start at number 1, and number 1 is I don't know. Did anybody in the year 2000 know Ashley Wallace better than you?
Probably not.
Did anybody in the year 2005 know Ashley Wallace better than you?
Probably not.
And you, as you just said, have been in jail for 16 months for a crime you claim you didn't commit, correct?
That's true.
And your answer to this jury, when I ask you to give them the number 1 reason why Ashley Wallace killed her own father with antifreeze and then stuffed rat poison down his throat, your answer is, I don't know, correct?
That's correct.
Ashley and Bree stayed home on the Monday before Michael died, correct?
Yes.
Had enough sense to realize that their father was sick and they wanted to stay home with him, isn't that right?
No, that's not right.
And you went to work on Monday.
Yes, I did.
And what kind of shape was Michael in on Monday?
He wasn't feeling well. He had been complaining of being dizzy and nauseous.
Did you hear Dr. Stopper's testimony about the stages of antifreeze poisoning?
Yes.
And did you hear about the agonizing way someone dies under those circumstances?
Yes.
About how they can't walk, they can't talk, they get dizzy, their kidneys shut down, they're in extreme pain. You heard all that?
Yes, I did.
You didn't see any of that on Monday, did you?
Michael was talking fine. He spoke to me before I left.
That's your definition of okay, right? Eyes open and breathing. Let me ask you this. You clearly, when you were speaking to Detective Lashinsky, were making an effort to convince her that David, your husband, had been suicidal.
No, I did not.
You said everything in the statement was true, right?
That's correct.
And you're telling us now that you didn't make any references to Detective Lashinsky about David being suicidal?
I never said David was suicidal. I said David had some strange behaviors and he was having issues and problems after his father died, but I never used the word suicidal.
You certainly were trying to convince her of that, weren't you?
No, she asked me what his state of mind was and how he was behaving, and I
asked you yes, no question, ma'am. You answered yes, no, otherwise I'll rephrase it for you.
Okay.
이어서 첫 번째 남편 마이클이 죽었을 당시 가족력을 핑계대며 부검을 거부했던 스테이시의 모순을 예리하게 찌릅니다.
And you told him that you didn't want an autopsy.
Yes, I did.
You thought that he probably died of a heart attack.
No, I did not.
And you know now that he did die of a heart attack, right?
Yes.
Okay. Were you curious in 2000 about the health of your 2 children?
Of course.
And you would want to know, would you not, why one of their parents had died so that they could make proper preparations in their life to guard against any possible disease, correct?
Correct?
So the best way to do that would be to have an autopsy of Michael to see, in fact, what he died from to protect Ashley and Bree. Isn't that correct?
That wasn't necessary. The doctor has said that it was a heart attack.
So the doctor came in, Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Right. Are you aware that Dr. Allen never even saw your husband in death?
Yes, he did. He was at the hospital.
All right. Explain to me how it is a doctor looks at a person and says, heart attack.
I don't know how the doctors came to that conclusion. There were 3 doctors that took care of
You
Michael
didn't do a darn thing to overrule them and say, hey, hold on, guys. I've got 2 daughters. I'm concerned about their health. I want to know what Michael died from. Perform an autopsy so I can protect my children. Did you say that, yes or no?
No, I did not.
진정으로 딸들을 아꼈다면 반드시 부검을 했어야 한다는 논리였죠.
When did you first see the jug of antifreeze that was found in your dead husband's bedroom?
When did I see that? In a picture?
First time ever. You never saw it that weekend.
No.
And when you opened the door on Sunday to reassure Bree that David was okay, what did you see?
That was Saturday, not Sunday.
Bree says it was Sunday.
It was Saturday. Because Sunday, I couldn't get
Bree
into
says
the...
it was Sunday. You're saying she was incorrect.
Yes, I am.
You're saying she's wrong about the last time she saw her stepfather.
Yes, I am.
Right. And she looked in, and she said he was naked.
No, he wasn't. He was covered up.
She says he was naked, lying across the bed.
No, she did
Just
not.
like the photo that we put into evidence, right, Mrs. Castor?
She did not say that.
She didn't say it?
No, she did
Okay.
not.
Now, let's talk about the things that you claim are not suicidal that David said to you. Did you tell Detective Lashinsky about David? He also told me that he did not want to die alone and he was worried about his death. Did you tell her that?
Yes.
He also told me that he did not want to be buried without his companion. Is that what you told her?
Yes.
David also stated that he was concerned about what I was going to do or if I would live with my kids when I was older. Did you tell her that?
Yes.
He told me that he had lost his will to live at that time.
After his ex-wife left him, yes.
You were telling her that this must have been a suicide, right?
No.
And then the police, some of them thought it was a suicide, right?
I don't know what the police thought.
So in 2000, when Michael died, and you told him that he had heart disease in his family, and they said it was a heart attack. Now it's 2005, and you say, look, David was talking about dying and where he was going to be buried, and then that was ruled a suicide, right?
I didn't have any control over who ruled what.
Well, I didn't ask you whether you ruled it a suicide. It was ruled a suicide, right?
Yes.
Isn't that an amazing coincidence, Mrs. Castor? That a guy who's thinking about suicide is being murdered at the same time? I mean, did you ever think about that? The only other things that would have been on the nightstand with the juice and 2 glasses would have been the telephone, the radio, lighthouse, decoration, and a coaster, correct?
Correct?
The glass that I'm pointing to with the green liquid in it.
Yes.
When did your fingerprints get on that glass?
When I brought it to David with water in it.
And you say on your oath it's the same glass.
As far as I know, I don't have any reason to believe it wasn't.
Well, that's the first time you've ever said that, isn't it?
It's the first time I was asked that I thought that was the same glass.
Detective Spinelli never asked you about that glass?
Specifically, no. He asked me if I brought those to David.
And the glass that I'm pointing to here, did you ever see that glass before?
Sure. I believe that to be a glass that I brought to David.
The 2 glasses, except for condition, are identical in contents, right? They're not identical in contents, excuse me. They're identical in form. They're the same type of glass?
Yes.
Okay. This is the cranberry juice bottle that you brought in,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And this is the Hiram Walker apricot brandy bottle that you initially told Detective Spinelli you had never touched, correct?
Correct.
And you talked to Spinelli for several hours, correct?
About 3.5, yes.
Did anyone during those several hours ever use the phrase rat poison to you?
No.
Now, you admit that you said the word antifree to Detective Spinelli.
Yes?
I want you to tell us that, or strike that. You tell us that Detective Spinelli was holding up this photo, Exhibit 17.
Correct?
Was he close to you?
Yes?
He was holding the photo?
Yes.
How were his hands positioned? Was he pointing to anything?
Yes.
He was pointing to what?
He was holding the picture like this and actually pointing to this glass like this.
Okay, let me have it back, thank you. And what did he say to you?
We were talking about when I took the glasses to David, and he's like, I'm asking you about this, and he's pointing to the glass, this glass, which, and I had pointed.
All right, let's reenact it.
Okay.
I'm asking you about, and you tell us what you said. I'm asking you about this glass.
About the glass. He's
I'm
pointing to this.
I'm asking you about the glass.
Mm-hmm. And I said that one, I had pointed to this glass, and that's the glass that the cranberry juice was in.
What did he say?
He didn't say anything at that point. He's pointing constantly to this, drawing my attention to it, and I said, that's the glass that I poured the antifreeze, stopped, and said...
Ooh, you just said antifreeze.
I said free, is what I said.
Okay, let's do it again. Go ahead, say it. This glass.
This is the glass that I poured the antifreeze. I stopped myself and said cranberry juice in.
When you were talking to Detective Spinelli, you didn't say, I stopped myself. I want you to do it exactly as it happened.
I'm going to overrule it.
Go ahead.
I said, are you going to continue? This is the glass that I poured the cranberry juice in.
Did you ever say to Detective Costanza that your fingerprints might have been on the antifreeze jug or bottle?
I don't specifically remember that, but I could have.
How many times on the weekend that David Castor died did you see your daughter Ashley Wallace in your bedroom?
I didn't see her in my room at all.
Not one single time, correct?
No.
자신에게 불리한 질문에는 요리조리 빠져나가려는 스테이시. 하지만 검사는 딸의 컴퓨터에서 발견된 가짜 유서를 꺼내들며 그녀를 압박했습니다.
Now I want to talk to you about September the 12th, Wednesday, September the 12th. How many times on September the 12th, 2007 was Ashley on the computer?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Why don't you know? You were there with her. Did you see her on the computer that day?
I didn't sit in the living room the entire day. I was doing other things in other parts of the house. I can't tell you.
She wasn't home from 8 a.m. until you picked her up at school, was she?
No, that's correct.
Okay. So Ashley Wallace was not on that computer from 8 a.m. until 3:15 p.m. You say that on your oath.
Yes.
Then from 3:15 p.m., when you picked her up, where did you go?
We went to Syracuse.
When's the next time you came home?
7 o'clock maybe?
7 p.m.
I think around 7, yes.
Was Ashley with you?
Yes, she was.
This is when you started drinking the Smirnoff?
That was later, but after 7 we were all home together.
Other people were over?
Yes.
Your computer is right in the living room, easily accessible?
Yes, sir.
Did you see Ashley at any time from 7 to 9:30 on that computer?
Not that I can recall, no.
Not one single time?
Not that I can recall.
So tell me then, Mrs. Castor, how is it that she wrote Exhibit 1 and printed it on your computer?
I'll overrule it.
Judge, how can she testify to something?
Judge,
I'm going to overrule it.
Go ahead, you have to answer the question.
She could have done it at any time. I was not always in the living room paying attention to what was happening with the computer.
It's a 750-page, 750-word note, Mrs. Castor. When did she write that note in that 7 to 9:30 window that you've now given her? Did anyone know it? Ashley, what are you doing? Oh, it's a suicide note. Let's go have a beer outside.
Objection, Judge.
You didn't see her do it, did you?
I do not recall seeing Ashley on the computer.
You were on that computer that day.
Not that I remember, no.
Not that you remember? Thursday, September the 13th, 2007. Did you ever have anything to drink with her on Thursday, September the 13th?
No.
Not one single thing.
No.
And had you ever seen her drink alcohol before?
Sure I have.
And had you ever seen her drunk before?
No.
How many times had you seen her drink alcohol before?
A few.
Would you say that she was a very light, casual drinker of alcoholic beverages?
What she did when I wasn't with
Would
her,
you
I don't
say
know.
that she is a very light, casual drinker of alcoholic beverages?
I can't answer that question. I don't know what she does when she's not around me.
Okay. And on Thursday, September the 13th, she came home and wanted to take a nap.
Yes.
And that's not unusual for her, right?
No.
And what time did she go in to take the nap?
Between 1:30 and 2 o'clock, I believe.
And the next time that you saw your daughter when she was conscious was when she was being carted out by ambulance attendants on Friday morning.
Yes.
17 hours later.
Yes.
And this is normal, right, Mrs. Castor?
I'll overrule it.
I never said Ashley.
I've just overruled it.
This is normal.
For Ashley to be in her bedroom for 17 hours? Sure it is.
Sure it is. Sure it is. It's normal. And she was drooling, wasn't she? Was she drooling normally, Mrs. Castor?
Objection, Judge.
I've overruled it.
Was she?
I don't know.
You saw her drooling, though, didn't you?
That was a figure of speech.
It was a figure of speech! My God! You lost 2 husbands to poisoning! Your daughter had just learned that her father was dug out of his grave. You tell your boyfriend that Archie's drooling normally in the bedroom.
That's
My God! Is this your testimony?
That's not what I said.
I'll strike the characterization.
Did you say the word drooling?
I said the phrase.
Did you say the word drooling?
Yes.
And now you know you have to say that because we got it on tape, don't we? Yes or no?
It was part of a phrase.
Yes or no?
Yes.
A phrase? A joke? Why don't we listen to it?
Go ahead.
Exhibit 114, Your Honor.
All right, Josh is here with Bree. Ashley's still drooling on herself. That poor kid was exhausted. She didn't look very good this morning, though.
No. Well, Jesus, what do you expect? She's bringing a hammer.
Yeah. Yeah, so she took some Motrin and went like I was downstairs working on laundry, and she just yelled down, "I'm gonna go take a nap."
Would you explain to this jury how it is that you were able to tell Detective Phelps that the word Gatorade appeared in Exhibit 1?
Because I didn't read every line of that letter. I told you I skimmed the letter and read through.
I just asked you to read it like you were reading it that morning, Mrs. Castor. How did you know that Gatorade was in the note?
Because I read it.
Because you wrote it.
Because I read it.
So you're telling us that you just happened to see the word Gatorade.
I happened to see a lot of words in that letter.
And you went on and on and on until you got to about where I'm pointing now. And if we look down here, there's the word Gatorade, more than halfway through the note. And yet you told Detective Phelps in the hospital, while your daughter might be dying in the other room, that you specifically remembered that she said something about Daddy's Gatorade. Is that right?
Yes.
How is that, Mrs. Castor?
I read it.
그 긴 유서를 대충 훑어봤다고 주장했지만 정작 유서 후반부에 등장하는 단어는 아주 정확히 기억하고 있었죠. 그리고 마침내 검찰은 이 사건의 종지부를 찍을 마지막 스모킹건을 꺼내듭니다. 취조실에서 무의식 중에 내뱉었던 단어, 그리고 딸의 컴퓨터에 남겨진 유서 속의 오타. 검사는 당시 취조를 담당했던 형사를 증인석으로 부릅니다.
I took this picture of one like it out of my folder, and I showed it to Stacy and said I had a question for you. Stacy, regarding these glasses that were on top of the nightstand next to David's bed, you told us earlier that you had gotten David some cranberry juice and some water. By looking at the photo,
would you be able to tell me which glass it was that you brought into David? Stacy leaned into the photo, looking at it, at which time she said, when I poured the antifreeze, I mean the cranberry juice, you're confusing me, you're jumping all over the place. At that point I said, Stacy, I simply asked you one question. I didn't jump all over, it was just one question, if you know which glass it was. At that point, the interview continued.
When she said to you, when I poured the anti-free, are you certain it was anti-free and not anti-freeze with a Z?
It was anti-free, absolutely positive.
모든 거짓말이 산산조각 나는 순간이었습니다. 이 압도적인 증거들 앞에서 변호인이 할 수 있는 일은 배심원단의 주의를 분산시키기 위해 사건의 본질과 동떨어진 질문을 던지는 것뿐이었습니다.
There were a lot of questions about the estate. There were questions about what checks were cashed and what was sold. Were those items separate from the estate or part of the estate?
Some of them were separate and some of them were part of the estate.
Do you remember exactly which were which?
The life insurance policy, the IRA, and the sale of the truck, actually both trucks because one was mine, were not part of the estate. The auction, and I believe that you mentioned something else, but the auction was part of the estate.
And there was a lot of conversation. Again, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but there was a lot of questions about what happened with David when he fell down. When he fell, how hard did he fall?
Objection.
No, I'll overrule. Go ahead.
He tripped and fell to the floor. He didn't, it wasn't like he fell dead weight.
Did you see any obvious serious injuries?
No obvious serious injuries, no.
If you had seen any, what would you have done?
Objection.
I'll sustain it.
그리고 배심원들과 판사의 마음을 흔들 진짜 피해자 친딸 애슐리가 증인석에 나왔습니다.
The biggest question I ask is why? Why did she do these things? She killed 2 people and tried to kill me and blame it on me and blame me for the other deaths. That bothers me so much. I had to pretend for a year that everything was okay, that nothing was bothering me, even though I was worried about the trial and worried whether the jury would believe me. I hate my mother for ruining so many people's lives. I didn't even know why she did it. What gave her the right to play God with people?
엄마에게 철저히 이용당하고 목숨까지 잃을 뻔했던 딸의 진술은 법정에 있는 모든 이들의 가슴을 먹먹하게 만들었습니다. (2009년 3월 5일) 최종 판결일. 재판의 모든 과정을 지켜본 판사의 얼굴에는 숨길 수 없는 분노가 서려 있었습니다. 34년의 법조계 경력 동안 수많은 살인마를 마주했던 판사조차 이 악랄함 앞에서는 혀를 내둘렀죠.
You know, in my 34 years in the criminal justice system as a lawyer and as a judge, I've seen serial killers, I've seen contract killers, I've seen murderers of every variety and stripe, but I have to say, Mrs. Castor, you are in a class by yourself. What you did to David Castor can only be described as premeditated torture. And while you're not being held accountable for it here, I must say that what you did to Michael Wallace was also premeditated torture. Premeditation is not something we often see in the criminal courts, but it certainly is present in both of these instances. Now, as bad and as evil as that is, what you tried to do to your daughter Ashley is simply something that I find I almost can't comprehend. I've seen a lot of defendants come through this court system, including some whose parents tried to take the blame for what they did, but I've never seen one who was prepared to sacrifice their child to shift the blame away from themselves. You know, I listened carefully to the testimony of both your daughters, and I have daughters too. They're older than yours, but they have a similar gap in their ages. And I listened not only to the wonderment of your daughter Ashley as she tried to comprehend what you did to her, I also listened to the horror your daughter Bree experienced in finding her older sister almost dead. You not only deprived those children of their father, but you were prepared to deprive them of one another. And I'm certain that your daughters, like my daughters, like most children who have siblings, expect and are comforted by the knowledge that when their parents pass on, they'll at least have each other to grow old and share life with. You almost succeeded in murdering one child and orphaning the other. You know, that ranks, in my judgment, as one of the most reprehensible things I think I've ever seen in the criminal justice system. I know that you maintain your innocence, but I'll tell you, in my view, the evidence of your guilt is overwhelming. Unlike many defendants who pass through my courtroom, you're not just a danger to the general public, you're a danger to the people who love you and are closest to you. And I believe that the sentence I'm about to impose will remove that danger once and for all.
마침내 이 악마를 처벌할 최종 판결을 선고했습니다.
Upon your conviction for murder in the second degree, the murder of David Castor on count one of the indictment, it's the sentence and judgment of the court that you be sentenced to a minimum of 25 years and a maximum of life in the New York State correctional system. We are recessed.
Thank you, Judge.
여러분은 이 사건에 대해 어떻게 생각하시나요? 여러분의 생각을 댓글로 남겨주세요. 구독과 좋아요, 댓글은 영상을 만드는데 큰 힘이 됩니다. 감사합니다. 처벌 실화냐?